Let me put an idea into your heads. Certainly the whole thing is rewriting history about how it actually happened as best we can put together. Because I doubt there's few records out there, but where I'm leading with this, this idea, this immediate idea, you'll see where I'm coming from. What if all of a sudden another country, whether you want to call it an adversary or an ally, all of a sudden contacts you and say, guess what? We have your Liberty Bell. We also have your Declaration of Independence. We have the flag, I believe, is the one that was flying over Fort Sumter. And we've had that for a while, since, after the Second World War. And now it's mid-50s, 55-ish, 57. And we'd like to give it back. We're sorry we got it lost. But here it is. Now, what do you think the reaction of the American people would be? You've had our bell for that long? Oh, I guess the flag and the Declaration of Independence was up underneath there, hidden. You couldn't. I guess you didn't know it was there. Gee, as big as that bell is, that just got misplaced. What I'm getting at is, what am I addressing here is, we had the Russian crown jewels. We had Nicholas II's crown, which had descended through its down through their monarchy, whatever, the imperial rule, through generations. We had the scepter. Gee, maybe I'll pull a picture up and I'll show you Catherine the Great with the scepter and the, let's just do that. Let's have a little bit of fun. Okay, here's Catherine the Great. Portrait with the scepter and the crown. So the scepter and the crown go on well beyond even Catherine the Great. I forgot when this stuff was developed, but you know, it's the history of Russia. So all of a sudden, one of our allies or adversaries tells us that they have our important images, the bell, a flag, and the Declaration of Independence. Well, what if all of a sudden, like the United States contacts Russia and says, guess what? We have your crown and we have your scepter, and there's a whole bunch of stuff in the armory that looks real familiar that I think we had too, which all goes back to the Romanov family. And they say, oh, guess what? This got misplaced. And now it's mid-50s, 55, 57, whatever, and we'd like to give it back, and it got misplaced during the Second World War. And we're really sorry about that. How well do you think that's going to be received by the Russian people that we've had this stuff for 10 years? Think about that. 10 years. Maybe at least 10 years. How well received do you think the Russian people are going to be with that? Well, this is one of the things I'm counting on, because we had this stuff. And it wasn't like they got it back after the Second World War and then we took it away and then we gave it back again. That didn't happen. We're going to rewrite history, people, as it actually happened. And I'll bet the Russians have got it written somewhere when they received this back and they were not happy. You think the American people would be happy if somebody had kept the images, the objects I described earlier? Think about that. Somebody has this written down, I guarantee you, and it's not going to go away because I'm right here. Well, let's just check it. Check and see how far we've gotten here. Well, I didn't think I was going to do this, but to give you an idea how the Orlov diamond comes into play in the history of Russia, I didn't expect that I was going to be the educator here, but one thing I learned about this new age of technology and computers and that people, very few people do research work. They just take everything at face value. So here goes. I'll just throw this in. The particulars of the Orlov story have been lost with time, but it was widely reported that the diamond once served as an eye of the statue of a deity in southern India. The man held responsible for its removal was a French deserter, a grenadier from the Carnatic Wars who apparently converted to the Hindu faith and worshiped at the temple for many years. Whether the deserter did this sincerely or solely to gain access to the statue is not known. The temple, situated in an island in a particular river, was surrounded by 7 enclosures. No Christians were permitted further than a fourth. Once having pilfered the stone around 1750, the deserter fled to Madras, where he would find protection with the British Army as well as a buyer. The as yet unnamed stone passed from merchant to merchant, eventually appearing for sale in Amsterdam. An Iranian millionaire who then owned the diamond found an eager buyer in Count Gregory Grigorovich Orlov. The Count paid a purported 400,000 Dutch florins. Years before the purchase, Grigory Orlov had been romantically involved with young Catherine the Great of Russia, an affair beginning while she was Empress Consort of Russia, married to the Emperor Peter III of Russia. Their affair continued as Grigory Orlov led the way in the dethronement of her husband in a coup d'etat with the elevation of Catherine to power. Their relationship carried on for many years and produced an illegitimate child, but Catherine eventually forsook Count Orlov for Gregory Alexandrovich Potemkin. Count Orlov sought to rekindle their romance by offering her the diamond. As it is said, he knew she had wished for it. While he failed to regain her affections, Catherine did bestow many gifts upon Count Orlov. These gifts included the marble palace in St. Petersburg. Catherine named the diamond after the Count and had her jeweler design a scepter incorporating the Orlov. Now known as the Imperial Scepter, it was completed in 1784. So here's part of the history of Russia and how important I'm sure it is to the Russian people. You know, the English have their own heritage that is important to them. So this is the Russians. And it says here, a description was given by Eric Burton in 1986. 1986, people. Well after we had it. The scepter is a burnished shaft in 3 sections set with 8 rings of brilliant cut diamonds, including some of about 30 carats each and 15 weighing about 14 carats each. The Orlov is set at the top with its domed The top facing forward. Above it is a double-headed eagle with the arms of Russia enameled on its breast. That's it. It's as far as Eric Burton got. He didn't describe a little piece of metal missing off its right side. So I'd say his description is a little bit incomplete. But anyway. So here we've got Catherine the Great. What I wanted to mention here is look at the orb behind her right hand, and you'll see the scepter does not have the orb off yet, and then of course the crown. Now here is Nicholas. Look at that. There's a scepter without the orb on, and look at, there's the orb again. One of the things that makes this so difficult is, I don't know if you've seen some of these crime movies where they've got pieces of paper laying all over the floor. Well, that's not the way this is, but that's the way my memory is. There's pieces all over the place. If you want, go back, click back to Nicholas in that cape. It almost looked like it's the same cape that is underneath Catherine's arm there. It's I believe we had that too, and especially talking about that orb right there. We had an orb, and I think it was that one. Well, if we had the crown, we had the scepter, why wouldn't we have the orb? Well, the important thing about the orb is there's a cross right on the top of it that's attached, and there's a band of diamonds. I have pictures that show that those diamonds are offset. They're not evenly placed on that orb. Maybe at some point I'll bring that up. And then now today, the diamonds are correctly repositioned. I would think that the Russians, when that cross was reattached to the orb, they're going to have that documented. And I believe that should that documentation, that report surface, that it's going to be within a year after they got it back that repair was made. So there's a little bit more for you there. You can imagine how difficult this is for me as I keep going into this. I have so much to cover, and I keep finding more stuff. But hopefully that's entertaining for you. I'll keep plugging along here. Look at this bandolier, folks. I promised you this picture earlier. That's the bandolier I was spoke of earlier that contained the cigars. He may have had more than one bandolier like that. I don't quite remember that velour on there. I remember canvas. It took us a while to find the cigars, figure out what was in there, because I think basically we found 3 containers that had tobacco in it. One was a complete cigar, one was a broken cigar, and one was a disintegrated cigar. Nevertheless, yeah, that's what those were. They were containers for cigars. Now I need to find, see if I can find that orb for you. Here's the orb now in the Russian Diamond Fund, or the Armory. And the next shot is the earlier orb picture. You can see how the diamonds are offset and the cross is actually on an angle. Why am I showing you this stuff? Is because a lot of these items we had have been corrected, realigned. We had this. And I can say that orb, as I remember, it was heavy. As a little kid, you could only hold that thing for so long, then you had to put it down. That thing was heavy. And forgive me for accidentally breaking that cross and that jewel off, but hey, if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have remembered it. But you got it back, and that's great. I keep finding stuff that I want to tell you about. There's just it's so numerous. And again, it's not that I'm trying to build a story around pictures that I just accidentally find, I know where to look. Because I think I was trying to dig those diamonds off that orb, and that's how they got offset. But I think if you look around, I did research the orb, and today in the armory or diamond fund, wherever you find it, it's pretty much aligned all the way around. It's in perfect condition now, but it wasn't, as you notice in the earlier pictures when I had it, or after I had it. So we're plugging right along. See where we end up next. I kind of think there is no real chronological order in the way I do things. As I find things now, I just find so much, and I'm cross-referencing and back and forth, but I'm just trying to get through this thing. At some point, gosh, wouldn't it be wonderful if it was in some kind of order, but then you'd probably be bored to death because you don't know what to expect next. And maybe that's a good thing. Take a look at this necklace. On the right outside band, you see a leaf is missing. I'll tell you about that. These are all Thutmose III. That's a cuff bracelet. I'll tell you something about that. Coming up are the earrings I was trying to tell Goldman about, where one actually works. Here comes the sandals coming up. These are the larger ones that I slipped in. And a necklace is coming up. I remember very little about it other than it looks like melted crayons back in the day. And then here comes the sandals that I actually walked in. You can see how they're bent and all the finger and toe caps that we had on. And look at that vulture there. There's a close-up of the vulture, but in the bottom picture, this vulture coming up on the right-hand side, that wing is split, and I'll tell you about that. And I do apologize. I wish I could just stick on a picture and sit there and talk about it with you, but I've lost so much video experimenting with this. I have so much to share and so very little time to learn how to do this. Isn't that a bitch? But getting back to that first necklace, Dorothy tells me that those outside little dangly things, they're acanthus leaves. And that there's one missing. Let me tell you, I had that for years, a decade or so, and until I forgot what it belonged to. I wouldn't even know where to look for that anymore. But we had that. This is the stuff that came with Nefertiti. This was all separated from everything else, and it was the first stuff we started getting into, the first shipment that first arrived. Then there was the cuff bracelet. One is open and one is closed, and we found the one that was closed first. We examined that, and we thought, boy, this must be old. It looked Egyptian, obviously. It wasn't until we found the second one that was open that we realized that there was inscriptions, hieroglyphics on the inside, and we could look down in there and see the other ones. That was one on the one that was closed. As far as the earrings right there, I said to Goldman that there were, I don't know, 6 sets of earrings or 5 sets. Nevertheless, look at, there are 10 earrings there. These are ones I tried to describe to Goldman, and I had mentioned, and I'll see if I can find that here. On June 16th, 1978, in one of my correspondence with Goldman, I wrote, "These earrings were almost a potato skin brown color. All the earrings were the same tarnished color." And these are the very earrings. All these items that the last several photographs I showed, they're all at the Metropolitan. We had this stuff in the 50s. And their provenance says that they had this stuff. As much as I investigated some of these pieces, they said they've had this since 1920. Well, I know that some things need to be corrected. But to tell you a little bit back, if you want to go back The photograph that shows the sandals that I was wearing, you can tell that they were worn by the way they're bent. Getting back to it, there's those fingers and toe caps, as they call that at the Metropolitan. We found, my brother put those things on all his thumbs and fingers, and so I wanted to do the same thing. And I covered all my hands except for one finger or one thumb, and I looked for a long time and could never find that last one. So there were 19. And you can see there still is just 19. There's one missing. But what was remarkable about this picture, when I first found this picture online that somebody had taken out of the Metropolitan, is where these sandals are that I wore with the toe caps, there's a half a picture of a golden vulture sheeting. And one of the photographs just shows a close-up, but if you get into the Metropolitan, because I don't know if I can pull that up to show that, I have so much ground to cover. The vulture's wing, as you look at it on the right side, is split. And what happened was, when I was a kid and I had this bird, this vulture, I put it in my hands and I'd make it fly by going up and down, and the wings would be flapping. Well, I kept doing that until I didn't realize it was starting to split. Well, I was having so much fun with that, I kept doing it a little bit longer until I had to stop before the whole wing came off. When I first saw the picture of the vulture without the torn wing, without showing the wing that had the damage, it said something to me that made me go into the Metropolitan to seek out that vulture, because I remember there was some damage on it. Well, guess what? It's clearly visible. But they say they've had it since 1920, give or take a couple of years. Well, some corrections need to be made here. Anyway, let's see, where can we go next? Here's one of those pieces of Russian cloisonne dinnerware. I described how we had one particular German crate. There may have been 2 or 3 that we had several of these pieces in there. Some look familiar. I just can't be that particular about these, but they're very familiar. We had a lot of these pieces, and they sold for big money, and they're still selling out there in those auctions in, let's call it the Western world. But I had pulled this off of one of those sites, and it looked really familiar. There's just something about the look of these things that takes you back and just rings your bell. The other thing I want to talk about right now is, that I haven't mentioned, I did it on another video, and it never got planted, so to speak, but let me just put it to you right here, right now. Real early in my investigation, when I was absolutely positive, of course I've been pretty positive about it, is I sought out a polygraph expert, and thank you, Don. He helped me with a couple of avenues in which to pursue, and the one that I ended up with, that I finally had a meeting with, he's an elected official. He's an expert voice stress analysis technician, and we finally got together one day, and he says to me, we got together, and I showed him what I had in my 2 3-ring binders with the information in that. And he said, I have no doubt that you will pass this test. And that's what I'm believing. You know, is how can anybody who believes that they're telling the truth fail one of these tests? Now, he told me that the voice stress analysis people, they do not, let's say, put much faith in the polygraph people, and the polygraph people, they right back at them. So this works in my favor, and this is what my plan was, is to have this voice stress analysis test, throw it out there in the world, and then somebody in a polygraph expert would say, well, let me test this guy. Let me test me. And I'll prove to you that this guy is full of crap. Well, that's wonderful. And then we'll present the same objects, and I'll have the same replies, and then we'll also, on the second test, then we'll introduce a half a dozen or so other objects that I'll be tested on. And so I'm thinking, after about 4 of these tests of voice stress analysis, polygraph, voice stress, polygraph, whatever, eventually somebody's going to say, gee, maybe we should believe this guy. Well, that's what it's all about. But my first guy, I had stressed to him that after this first recording is done, which you can do on a laptop and give me a disc, I said, I worry more about you than I do me. I says, because most people are going to think I'm crazy anyway, but it's you that's going to be criticized. I said, they're going to say, who is this guy that administered this test, and he believes him? Well, you see, that works in my favor, but it doesn't do him any good. And we've yet to take this test, but I just wanted to say that I have pursued this on my own. I volunteered to find somebody who would do this, although it hasn't been done yet. So I just wanted to mention that off the top of my head. Now we'll see what we're working with time-wise. Well, we're coming up on 30 minutes here of Misplaced Treasures number 3, so I think that's enough for today. It takes me hours to do a 1.5 hour segment. It took me a day and a half, 2 days to do that in 1 hour. Well, that was something else, but that's enough for today. We'll work on another one tomorrow. All right. Hey, thanks for your time.